Always, I want to thank you guys for coming out and covering and supporting Penn State football, covering Penn State football. You kind of go through the statistical part that jumps out at you. We won the drive start battle, just barely. We lost the turnover battle. 3 turnovers on the road. It's not who we've been. You turn the ball over on the road against a good opponent, a top 10 opponent. Makes it very challenging to win. Won the penalty battle and the explosive play battle we won. But turnovers, we know it. The first quarter touchdown was the first we allowed this season. Felt like offensively they were able to get in rhythm, run, and the RPO stuff. Who would have thought going into this game that we would have led them in rushing and they would have led in passing at the half. But they were able to be very efficient, stay on schedule. Offensively, the game played out the way they wanted it to play out. Dominate time of possession, turnovers, that's been how they've been playing all year long. We started poorly. We had, in the first half, we had interceptions, we had blown coverages, we had missed tackles, we did not play well in the first half. Yeah, we did not. And then we did enough in the second half to have a chance to win the game, but weren't able to finish it in the red zone. We've been great in the red zone, had not been a strength of theirs, and they did a good job. So the first thing you got to do is you got to give them credit. Thought the atmosphere was great. I thought they played really well and executed their plan. We took too long to adjust and settle our guys down on the road in the Big Ten. Second half was a different story, but obviously it makes it challenging and difficult to start out a game like that against a really good opponent on the road.
Open up to questions.
Open it up to questions.
James, why was Morgan so successful he was 18 for 20. Why was he successful and why was the secondary? What happened? Guys were open. You said blown coverages.
Well,
just in general.
Yeah, and I don't know if necessarily the ones that you're talking about. They were going the RPO, which we know they do. They were able to throw the slant or the skinny post off the backside. That's what they do. They do a great job at it. You got to commit so much to stopping the run that you're one-on-one. I think their receivers are really good. We knew that was going to be a challenging matchup the entire game. That's who they've been. That's what you seen on tape. The biggest difference was they played a much higher percentage of unbalanced early in the game, more than we had seen. And again, when they do that, we were in a situation where we felt like we had to commit more to stop the run. You're one-on-one, and their receivers, made plays. And he's very comfortable in the pocket. It's a one-man read. If he buries himself into the box, then you pull it and throw the slant on the backside. If he doesn't, you hand it off, and the ball's coming out quick. He's not holding on to it, and that's who he's been. I thought Coach Shiraka, their offensive coordinator, had a really good plan, called a really good game. Again, with all of that, we still had a chance to win the game at the end.
Coach, you knew that this Dover team was good. Did you think it was this good?
Yeah, they're undefeated, ranked very high. You're on the road in the Big Ten. Yeah, we knew they were a good football team. It's hard to be undefeated, and with them being undefeated and what they've been able to do, you're playing a confident football team on the road who's undefeated, and they played well enough today to beat us.
James, why was your pass rush so ineffective, and did you think about blitzing more as the game went on?
Again, guys, they very rarely threw the ball in a traditional throwing game. They weren't dropping back and throwing the ball. I have to go back and look at the tape, and I bet you out of the throws that he threw, 75% of them were RPOs, one-man read ball coming out. You don't get sacks on them. You cover the ball and you get incompletions. If they have to hold the ball, then you get linemen downfield, and every once in a while you get a sack. But with that style and allowing them to stay on schedule, you're not going to get sacks. In the second half, we got them off schedule. We did. They had some penalties that got them off schedule, and then we were able to do some different things. But we weren't able to get them off schedule because they had so much success on early downs.
James, a couple of red zone issues, the delay and the spike, and also why'd you go for 2?
Yeah, so a couple things. For whatever reason, and we work very hard on it, we talk about all the time about being on the road, dealing with the noise. You got to have a sense of urgency. You got to get the call in faster, which I thought we did a pretty good job, and then you got to get up and run the offense, and you got to do it with a sense of urgency. And for whatever reason, we weren't doing that. I kept saying it each time we came to the sideline, and we weren't doing it. And then there we were inside the red zone, and there's so many times where I'm right there to call a timeout, and we snap it right at the last second, and we didn't do it there. Obviously, after the fact, you should have called the timeout, but we were like that all day long. We didn't have a sense of urgency for whatever reason. In terms of going for 2, obviously we have the 2-point chart like everybody does, and consulted the 2-point chart. It made sense to go for it. Talked to the offensive coaches, the defensive coaches, checked the chart. Felt like it was the right call in that situation. And to be honest with you, again, the way the game played out, that wouldn't have mattered.
Well, it would have mattered if you were down 11 instead of 12.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, that's that early in the game. I think Neil's question is why go for 2 with 19 minutes to go before you really know what's going to happen later in the game.
Yeah, Dave, it's always this situation. If it works, everybody thinks it's a
All
good
right.
call. If
Then
it doesn't
fine.
work, but I told you, we
Okay.
checked the book.
Yeah.
The book says go for it. I talked to the offensive coaches. I talked to the defensive coaches. We all agreed. Wouldn't have played out at the end. You don't like it, so you ask me again, but I think I've already answered the question clearly.
Coach Franklin, you are the first coach of color to bring a highly ranked team into Minnesota in history. Just talk about the significance of that, because there's very few coaches of color coaching big time football. For you to bring a team in here that's highly ranked to compete and to do as well as you possibly can without, unfortunately, you fell short.
Yes, sir. Obviously, right now, it's sometimes hard to think about, big picture things like that, because you're just so focused on the game. It's something obviously that I take great pride in. But at this moment, obviously, my complete focus is on we didn't play well enough to win. But yeah, my role, the significance of my responsibility and my role, I don't take that lightly. Yes, sir.
I'm curious if you think you have more than one. If Sean thinks he has more than one wide receiver he can really count on, other than Hamler and Freiermuth, it doesn't look like it at this point. What do you think?
We got a lot of guys that we like. Jahan Dotson made a bunch of plays late in the game. We had drops early on. I'll take as many questions as you guys got rather than statements.
James, how would you describe the last series? Jahan's play, the interference, and then the interception.
Yeah, I don't want to be one of these guys that comes into press conferences and questions calls. Those guys got tough jobs to do. You really hope that call late in the game, I hope it's clear as day, because to make that call in that critical of a situation, obviously there wasn't many penalties either way, but those are critical, So overall, I think the officiating has been good. I do not want to be a guy that sits in here and talks about the officials when there's a lot of things that we could have done better. You just hope in critical times like that, it better be clear to make that call at that point of that game. We'll see. I'll be interested. It looked to me on that last play of the interception that Freiermuth got tackled over the middle of the field, but we'll see.
James,
Time for
what's
two more.
your takeaway on Sean's play in this game? It looked like there were some highs, but some difficult things. And how do you communicate to him after a game like this, where I'm sure it was tough on him?
Yeah, early on, I didn't think we played great, really, and not Sean, all of us. Turnovers, we just weren't consistent. We'd have big plays, explosive plays, but we weren't able to really sustain things. We weren't able to get off the field, on defense. Late in the game, he's hurting. To go on that drive, and you could see he really had no movement. He was cramping up. his calf was like a rock hard. I tried to massage it out there. He let out a scream, so then I left him alone. But I thought overall he played a gutsy, tough performance. We'll learn from this. We'll get better. All of our goals are still out there ahead of us. You know, again, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta give Minnesota credit. We gotta go back and watch his tape and get better, you know, get better, so.
James, you mentioned all the goals are still there. This is the first loss. What's the message to the team of how to handle this? I know you talk 1-0 every week, but what do you talk to the guys after losing this kind of tough game?
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do a better job as I mature and grow professionally is I've made some mistakes where I go in the locker room after tough losses and you point out the mistakes. It's not the time for that. You know, the emotions are raw, the feelings are raw. There's kids telling me they're sorry and stuff. There's no reason for them to say sorry to me. You know, they give their blood, sweat, and tears to this university and to this community and to this program. There's a lot of hurting guys in there, coaches, players, everybody that's involved. I know, you know, the fans are hurting. I get it, you know, I do. So what I tried to do today was not do that, because I've made that mistake in the past. As you go in the locker room, you start pointing out things. It's not the time for it. You know, so especially when we practice on Sundays, we'll watch the tape tonight. I did tell them that, you know, everything in life is a learning opportunity, and to take a minute and take a deep breath, but allow this feeling, have the feeling, don't block it, have the feeling, and everything can be used for fuel. And I think we work really hard. I think we prepare extremely well, but we can get better. There's no doubt about it. That's all of us. That's everybody. We can get better. And we need to use this emotion and this feeling as fuel moving forward. It's very important that we put it to bed tomorrow and move on, because I think there's been times where we haven't moved on from losses. And I think part of it is how I've handled it in the locker room sometimes.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.